What if the man you swore to kill was already gone, and the only thing standing in your way were two little girls who looked at you with the same eyes your daughter once had? Cole Blackwood had asked himself many questions over the last 5 years, but never this one. Revenge had kept him alive since the night his ranch burned, since the night he lost his wife, Sarah, and their little girl, Emma. Hatred had become the only thing he trusted. Now that hatred led him toward a quiet homestead in the Wyoming Territory, where he believed the Maxwell family, the people who destroyed his life, were finally hiding. But when he looked through the trees that morning, rifle steady in his hands, he didn't see Thomas Maxwell or hired guns. He didn't see the killers he had hunted across 5 states. He saw 2 orphan girls hanging laundry on a rope. One about 12 years old, tall for her age, with dark hair pulled tight and a guarded look in her eyes. The other no more than 7, clutching a worn cloth doll with yarn hair and button eyes. Their dresses were patched, their boots thin, but they worked with the quiet focus of children who had learned to survive on their own. Cole lowered his rifle without even meaning to, because the smaller one, she looked like Emma, the same age Emma would have been now, the same round face, the same small shoulders. Even the way she stood, ready to run but trying to be brave, hit him like a bullet straight to the heart. He tightened his grip on the rifle, trying to steady the shaking in his hands. This wasn't what he came here for. He came for justice. He came for the Maxwells. He came to end the fight that started the night the fire took everything he loved. He didn't come to look into a child's eyes and remember what he lost. Cole breathed slow, forcing himself to focus. 5 years of chasing Thomas Maxwell had taught him patience, taught him to trust no one, taught him that mercy was a weakness that got people killed. He reminded himself of that as he rode forward, slow and calm, toward the whitewashed house. The younger girl saw him first. She froze, the wet sheet slipping from her hands. Her eyes widened, but she didn't scream. She didn't even run. She just stared at him like she could sense the storm he carried inside. The older sister stepped in front of her, one hand hidden in her skirt. Cole didn't need to guess what she held. He had seen enough kids holding guns they barely understood. He raised one hand from his reins. "Easy. I'm not here to hurt you." The older girl didn't lower her hand. Her voice was steady, though her shoulders trembled. "Father's coming back soon. He doesn't like strangers." A lie. Cole knew it instantly. There were no men around. No footprints, no extra horses, no smoke from a man's morning fire. No adult boots on the porch. Only the small, light steps of the girls and the thin tracks of an elderly cook's wagon that, according to his notes, left every evening before dusk. These girls were alone. Cole dismounted by the creek, letting his horse drink. He kept his voice calm. "Name's Cole. Just passing through." Quote. The older sister finally stepped onto the porch, sunlight catching on a worn revolver too heavy for her hand. "You can drink from the creek, then you should leave. We don't have anything worth taking." The words hit him hard. They were too young to talk like that, too young to believe the world expected things from them, too young to look at him like he was a threat. Cole stared into the clear water of the creek and saw his reflection, the black hat, the gun belt with the single carved notch, the hard lines in his face from years of grief and violence. No wonder they were scared. Most folks only knew him from newspaper clippings, the mysterious gunman who brought death with him. And maybe they weren't wrong. But right now, as he knelt by the creek, he didn't see a killer staring back. He saw a father who failed. "What are your names?" he asked, still facing the water. A pause. Then the older girl replied, "I'm Sarah. This is Mary." The names didn't match any Maxwell records. Cole had memorized those names years ago. These girls weren't Maxwell's. They weren't the family he came to destroy. They were someone else. Someone left behind in all the running and fleeing Thomas Maxwell had done. Someone he didn't understand yet. He turned toward them slowly. Mary peeked from behind her sister's dress, clutching the doll tightly. The way she held it, the way she twisted her toes in the dirt, the way her eyes looked too old for her little face, it tore something open inside him. Emma used to stand like that. Cole stood wiping his hands on his trousers. "Your uncle around?" Sarah's jaw tightened. He'll be back. Another lie. Her voice carried fear. But not fear for herself. Fear for Mary. Cole nodded slowly as if he believed her. All right. He started toward his horse again, but something made him stop. Something pulled him toward the porch steps. A glimpse of faded blue cloth under the wood caught his eye. A doll. Mary's doll had fallen through the porch boards. It wore a worn dress covered in little white flowers. Emma's doll had worn the same kind of dress. Cole felt the world tilt under him. Mary walked forward, tiny steps. Her name is Grace, she said softly. She fell. I couldn't reach her. Cole crouched and picked up the doll gently. Her button eyes seemed to stare up at him, soft and innocent. Mary stepped closer. Mama made her before she died. That one sentence told Cole everything. They were orphans. Alone. Holding themselves together the best they could. He held out the doll, and Mary took it carefully, hugging it close. Grace likes you, she whispered. Cole swallowed hard. That so? Mary nodded. She says your eyes are sad. He felt his breath catch. He had come here to kill. Instead, he found the last thing he expected. Two girls who needed protecting more than he needed revenge. What if the truth you've hunted for 5 long years suddenly turned on you and revealed that everything you believed was wrong? Cole Blackwood stood on the porch of the old Maxwell homestead, his hands still tingling from where he'd handed Mary her doll. Grace's button eyes watched him as if they understood more than any toy should. Something inside Cole shifted, a quiet tremble he hadn't felt since the night he lost his family. He came here to destroy the Maxwells. Instead, he found 2 abandoned girls holding their lives together with hope, fear, and a cloth doll. Inside the house, Sarah hovered close to her sister. She moved with the quiet caution of someone who had been the grown-up far too young. Come in, she said finally, her voice rough with the weight of responsibility. You can eat with us, if you want. Cole had eaten alone for 5 years. Cold biscuits, jerky, fire-warmed beans. He couldn't remember the last time someone offered him a seat at a table. Thank you, he murmured. Sarah stepped aside, still watching him closely, knife tucked in her apron. Cole understood. She wasn't afraid for herself. She was afraid for Mary. He respected that. The house was small but clean. A little worn but loved. A pair of tiny boots sat by the door. School books were stacked neatly on a table. A blanket stitched with careful hands lay over a rocking chair. 2 girls trying their best to pretend they weren't alone in the world. Cole removed his hat, feeling the weight of his past settle on him like dust. Where's your uncle? He asked gently. The answer was a long time coming. Sarah finally spoke. He left 2 months ago. Said he was going to fix his mistakes. She swallowed. He didn't come back. Mary looked up. But he sends money, and Mrs. Henderson brings food, and we're okay. Cole's jaw tightened. Money arriving like clockwork. An elderly cook delivering supplies so the town wouldn't ask questions. The girls keeping the house like their uncle might return any day. But he wouldn't. Cole knew men who ran from debts. From guilt. From enemies. Thomas Maxwell was all 3. Did he ever say where he was going? Cole asked. Mary shook her head. No, he cried when he left. I never saw him cry before. Cole blinked. That didn't fit the man he had hunted for years, the man he believed burned his ranch. The man he imagined pulling the trigger that killed his Sarah. But the truth wasn't something you could outrun. It always caught up. Sarah lifted her chin. Why are you here? This girl, 12 years old but brave as any grown woman, deserved honesty. I came looking for Thomas Maxwell, Cole said. I thought he hurt my family. I was wrong. Sarah's eyes widened. He didn't? No, Cole said quietly. I found something today. Something that changes everything. He didn't tell her yet. Didn't want to bring that darkness into this little kitchen. But he knew the truth now. Kingston, the banker, the man with a smile like a knife, was the real one behind the fire. Kingston wanted Cole's land. Kingston orchestrated the attack. Kingston framed Maxwell so Cole would hunt the wrong man. 5 years. 5 wasted years. Mary tugged his sleeve. Cole, will you stay for stew? He almost said no. Staying meant caring. Caring meant risking his heart again. But when she looked up with those Emma-like eyes, his voice softened. I'd like that. They sat at the table. The stew was simple, thin, but warm. Sarah poured water into 3 tin cups. Mary placed Grace in the 4th chair, like the doll belonged there. Sarah watched Cole's every move. She didn't trust him, not yet, but she wanted to. He could see the hope flickering behind her guarded stare. Girls, he said, gently placing his spoon down. There's something you should know. A sound outside cracked the moment in half. Hoofbeats. Fast. Hard. More than one horse. Sarah's face drained of color. That's not Mrs. Henderson. Cole stood so fast his chair tipped back. Upstairs. Now. Mary's voice trembled. Is it bad, man? Yes, Cole said, but I'm here. Sarah grabbed Mary's hand and rushed her toward the stairs. Before disappearing, she turned back. Don't die, she whispered. Please. Cole loaded his rifle and stepped onto the porch. 3 riders thundered into the yard. Not Maxwell's men, Kingston's, the same gang who burned Cole's ranch. The same men who threatened these girls. The same men who thought children were bargaining chips. The leader, Scarface, grinned at Cole. You sure are a stubborn one. Kingston wants the nieces alive. Hand them over. Quote. No, Cole said simply. Scarface spit into the dirt. Then you die first. The first shot ripped through the air. Cole dove off the porch. Winchester raised. Heart steady. Breath calm. Shaw's lessons pounding through his blood. The fight was fast. Brutal. Final. Scarface fell with a hole through his chest. The second rider hit the ground before he could aim. The third turned tail, racing back toward town, too afraid to face what Cole had become. When the yard finally went quiet, Cole stood breathing hard, shoulder burning where a bullet grazed him. But he was still alive. He went back inside. Mary burst from the pantry and dove into his arms, sobbing into his shirt. He held her tight, a hand smoothing her hair the way he used to comfort his own daughter. Sarah stepped out behind her, still holding the revolver with trembling fingers. They'll come back, she whispered. Yes, Cole said, but I'll be ready. She swallowed. Why? Why would you stay? Quote, he looked at both girls, Mary clinging to him like he was the last safe thing in the world, and Sarah standing tall, trying to protect her sister with everything she had. Because you're not alone anymore, Cole said softly, you have me now. What if the very enemy who stole your past came to take your future too? Cole Blackwood stood on the porch long after the bodies of Kingston's riders grew cold in the dirt. The sky darkened over the Wyoming homestead, but he didn't move. He listened to the wind, to the creaking boards, to the faint sound of the girls whispering inside. He'd protected them today, but tomorrow would be worse. Kingston wouldn't forgive this. Kingston wouldn't stop. And Cole, he couldn't lose another family. Not again. He stepped inside. Mary sat on the floor, hugging Grace the doll tight. Sarah stood behind her, gripping the revolver with both hands. Her small knuckles were white, her breath shallow. You hurt? Sarah asked. A scratch. Cole answered. He wasn't going to tell her the truth, that his shoulder burned, that blood soaked through his shirt, that his ribs ached from diving during the gunfight. None of that mattered. What mattered now were these girls. We need to talk, he said quietly. Sarah set the gun on the table. About them coming back? Yes. Mary lifted her head. Will they take us? Cole knelt beside her. No, he said, steady and certain. Not while I'm breathing. Mary nodded slowly, trusting him in the simple, absolute way only children could. We're leaving for now, Cole continued. Just until the danger passes. There's an old chapel behind the woods. Your uncle mentioned it in a letter. Sarah's eyes widened. A letter? Cole pulled the crumpled note from his pocket. Maxwell's handwriting shook across the page. When Kingston comes, and he will, look in the old chapel. What you find there, will keep you safe. I'm sorry for everything. Sarah read it with trembling fingers. So, Uncle Thomas, she whispered. He wasn't bad? Quote, he made mistakes, Cole said gently. But he didn't hurt my family. Kingston did. Sarah's shoulders eased. Mary rested her head on Cole's arm. He looked down at her and felt the old wound in his heart throb. The wound named Emma. The wound he thought would never heal. But Mary's small hand tightened around his sleeve, and something in him began to stitch itself back together. We move now, Cole said. He guided them into the night, the moon lighting the narrow path between trees. Mary held Grace to her chest. Sarah walked close beside Cole, her steps steady despite her fear. Cole, Sarah whispered, if something happens, will Mary stay with you? He stopped cold. Nothing will happen, he said firmly. But if it does, she pressed, voice trembling, take care of her, please. He placed a hand on her shoulder. I'll protect you both. I promise. They reached the chapel, old, weathered, its wooden cross crooked. But the moment Cole pushed open the door, he saw the truth. Maxwell had hidden something important here. Behind the altar, beneath loose floorboards, lay a metal strongbox. Cole pried it open and found stacks of documents, bank papers, signed confessions, and money. Proof Kingston had extorted dozens of families. Proof that could put the man away forever. This is why Kingston wants you to, Cole said softly. He needed to keep you quiet. Sarah swallowed. So he would've. Yes, Cole answered. He would have killed you. Mary pressed against him. He wrapped an arm around her without thinking. Footsteps sounded outside. Cole's heart stopped. The door burst open. Kingston himself stood there, gun raised, eyes cold as winter. Well, he sneered, ain't this touching? Sarah pulled Mary behind her. Kingston laughed. Maxwell's little brats. I should have finished this months ago. Cole stepped between Kingston and the girls, rifle ready, blood pounding in his ears. It ends tonight. Oh, I agree, Kingston said. Blackwood, step aside. I only need the children. No, Cole said simply. Kingston fired. The bullet tore into Cole's side. Sarah screamed. Mary cried out. Cole fell to one knee, but he didn't drop the rifle. Not now. Not again. He wouldn't fail another child. Sarah grabbed the revolver Cole had given her earlier. She stood shaking, but her voice didn't break. Leave him alone. Kingston turned toward her, amused. Little girl, put that gun down. Sarah fired. The shot hit Kingston in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. Cole surged up despite the pain and fired next. His bullet struck true, sending Kingston crashing backward through the chapel doors. Silence. Then Mary ran to Cole, sobbing. He held her tight with his good arm, pulling Sarah close too. You did good, he whispered, voice rough. Both of you. Sarah trembled. Cole, your blood. I've had worse, he lied. The fight wasn't pretty, but it was done. Cole tied Kingston with his own belt and dragged him outside. The man groaned and glared, but the fire in his eyes was gone. You'll hang for this, Cole said quietly. For all of it. The townspeople arrived moments later, drawn by the gunshots. Mrs. Henderson screamed in relief when she saw the girls. Sheriff Matthews dismounted, stunned by the scene. The feared gunman Cole Blackwood, with 2 children clinging to him like he was their whole world. Looks like you saved the territory a heap of trouble, the sheriff said. Cole looked at the girls. No, he answered softly. They saved me. Weeks passed. Kingston was locked in the territorial prison for life. The girls testified bravely. The townsfolk rallied around them, helping rebuild the homestead. And Cole, he stayed. Every night he prayed Emma could see him, see the father he was trying to be again. One morning, Sarah placed a paper in front of him at the kitchen table. Mary sat beside her, swinging her legs. What's this? Cole asked. Sarah bit her lip. Adoption papers, she whispered. We want you to sign them. Mary hugged Grace tighter. Grace says you're our P now. Cole's breath caught. His eyes burned. The past no longer broke him. The future waited with open hands. He pulled both girls close. his voice shaking with something he thought he'd lost forever. "You're my family," he said. "And I ain't going anywhere." Quote, they hugged him, two small hearts beating against his chest, and Cole Blackwood, once a man carved from grief and revenge, felt whole again.